Before we get started, we wanted to thank Matchstick Golf for being our first title sponsor. Matchstick is a custom designer of ball markers based in Portland, Oregon, that was born out of its founder getting sick and tired of trying to find cool ball markers that weren't huge, heavy poker chips that didn't cost $300 on eBay. Matchstick's markers include the one-eyed alligator from Happy Gilmore, a stack of cash that will have you putting for dough. Right now, Matchstick is offering 15% off your first order at matchstickgolf.com with the code MuniciPals. So head on over to matchstickgolf.com, enter MuniciPals at checkout, tell them Big C in Ashton sent you.
How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
Okay. What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Ashton, and once again, not Big Chris, but once again, good friend of the pod now, one of our only two-time guests over the course of 3 weeks, hashtag Chris is in Chicago. JD, hello, JD. Good. And our good buddy, Ian. Ian, how's it going, man?
Great, Ashton. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little liquored up. We're doing this on a Tuesday, so y'all listen to this next week, listeners. The Braves are at 5-1 in the World Series, and 2/3 of this podcast give a shit about this game. So I'm going to try my best to mute the microphone, but y'all are, we were so committed to giving y'all our takes on Corica. Oh my God, I'm going to say Corica Live, Corica North. We're going to do this live at the World Series game. So I'm doing good, but probably similar to you. Stoked the Braves are up 5-1. Bummed our best pitcher broke his leg, but nobody cares because we're here to talk about, a golf course, not the World Series.
True. But yeah, go Braves.
Yes, sir. Go Braves. And to Giants fans, we beat the Dodgers, so just shut up because that's all y'all seem to care about. So it's all good. Ian, before we dive in, you don't have to make this long. I always like for new guests, tell me about your golf game. Tell me what you're working on. Just give me a little lay of the land for listeners about kind of what you're working on.
Yeah, honestly, so I'm in 8 handicap, and I can't say I'm working on anything specific other than playing more golf. Unfortunately, I haven't been playing much golf over the last few years, and the pandemic has kind of pushed me back into the game, and I'm playing a little bit more and have an objective of playing about 100 courses this year, which I will fall woefully short of. I think I'm at 56 at this point.
Yeah, you document this on your Instagram, right? The road to 100.
That's the only place I document it, and usually about 2 weeks late. So it is what it is. Sometimes work gets in the way of the golf game, but I just love to get out.
Yeah. No, I've always appreciated, normally when I'll put a tee time in there, you're kind of DMing me, 2 or 3 minutes after. If there's a tee time, you're very likely to say yes, unless you're in the middle of a financial presentation like you have been for the last month or so. But I will tell the listeners, Ian's got some very beautiful T200 irons that were literally brand new on Saturday, and damn, those things were gorgeous.
Yeah. I think I hit 25 balls at the range before playing the North Course, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but I gotta say I like them so far. So just trying to get used to those golf clubs here over the next few weeks. Next week I'll be in Vegas, so play to win and get a few more strokes in.
There you go. And also, too, we're in that point of the year where, obviously the weather in the Bay Area is not like the rest of the country, but I sort of view late October, November, December as more of all of us in the lab, just kind of practicing, whether that's short game, long game, just kind of getting prepared more for the new year. So certainly if you're going to get new irons, it feels like the right time. So, but yeah, so we're here. This one's probably not going to be super long. Normally we document multiple courses, but the three of us plus JD's wonderful wife, Katie, who decided that she'd want to sit here with the two of us, totally understandable, to talk about the new Corica North 9. And so really before we start off, gentlemen, we have kind of our usual rating scale and kind of how we dive through it. But just at a very high level, would love for you guys to really just kind of share overall thoughts, first of all, and we'll kind of dive in on specifics. But JD, you've now played there twice. I was supposed to play with you the week before my buddy Nick kind of fucked us back up. You've now played there twice. So what are kind of your high-level thoughts initially?
I think it's a fun 9. We found out, I think that morning, this past weekend, that the 9 that we have, or that I've now played twice, isn't actually the first 9 holes. It's kind of a mixture. But it's a fun 9 holes of golf. It's not overly demanding. I think you can kind of pick and choose how hard you want to make the golf course for yourself, which in and of itself is kind of fun. The bunkers are certainly a visual challenge, and if you get into them, could eat you up. They're pretty deep, but I think it's in good shape. It's kind of, plays firm and fast. It plays like that link style fescue grass type of, sandbelt golf course it's supposed to be designed after, and really gives you a chance to, again, make it as hard as you want. I think it was a par 36 at 3,000 yards. So it's not, it's not going to stretch. You don't have to hit a ton of drivers, but it's going to be wind dependent, and it's at very least a intriguing kind of mixture of a short course and some really good holes.
I don't disagree with any of that. Ian, what do you think, man?
Well, I kind of got to echo JD here. Fun with a capital F. I mean, I had a great time, and like you said, it's not a long course, but it's really enjoyable. They did the most with the property. I think they've added 4 to 5 feet of sand in most places on the course, so it's not flat. It's very much, I'm going to say, wavy, undulating. Exciting, right? I mean, you think about the first tee, it's a short par 4, but there are a few hills that kind of block or obscure your view of the fairway and make it look a little bit more challenging than it is. It's a very wide hole, and I really enjoyed it. A few really intriguing green complexes. One, I would say, I think number 5, the par 5 has like a mini Biarritz, kind of like maybe Fox Chapel in Pittsburgh. Shout out to my old hometown. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a great course. It's going to challenge the high handicappers and put the low handicappers, if they choose to hit longer clubs, and some questionable spots where they have to hit some good chips around the green. So I loved it. Thought it was really good. Very well done.
And Ashton, before you jump back in, I love that first hole, Ian, as an example. It's not long, as you said, but you almost stand up there, and in a direct line to the green is way further left than you would actually want to hit it. So it is a straight hole in essence, right? There's no fairway bunkers to contour any sort of dog leg. There's obviously very minimal trees across the entire golf course, but it is a straight hole that if you wanted to try to hit it at the green, you certainly could. You just, if you pull it 4 yards left, you're probably not in great shape, and you kind of have a little bit more room right. But you stand on the first tee and you don't really know where you're supposed to hit it, and you almost have to turn it into the second time I played, I hit one less club, and I aimed it a good 20 yards further right than I did the first time, just because you almost have to turn it into this kind of V-shaped, not really dog leg, but hit it out right of where you think your target is, and then play back left, which also kind of opens up the green complex a little bit, brings those front bunkers, at least to the front right pin that we played, brings those front bunkers kind of out of it. And even if it is a back left pin, you're kind of hitting more into the green from a depth standpoint than if you would up the left side. So it's an interesting kind of visual play, more so than anything.
Well, and on top of that, I think that it also, potentially better than any hole we played, totally sets up what it's going to be, right? I mean, I think like the potentially the most dramatic bunkering around the green is on that first hole, right? So y'all have to help me use the words. I don't know how to say it, but it's like pot bunker, sort of like I call it like layered or
Sod
sodded,
wall?
right? Like how do you talk about that?
Yeah, sod wall bunkers.
Sod
You
wall.
know, it's kind of an ode to like the golden age, you know, in the U.S. and then even back in the UK and Ireland. It's a really intriguing course, you know, because it has those rolling hills and those bunkers. There aren't many of them on the course, but they're placed in the perfect location, and some of them are really challenging and very deep, right around greens that are typically elevated. So it can make for some fun, challenging shots around the green if you put yourself in the wrong position.
Yeah, and so in the first hole you've got that, and then you've got a really like capital A aggressively undulating green. Like for me, for example, I hit a hybrid in kind of the perfect spot and hit what was sort of indicative of the whole day, sort of this gross fan, like wedge, like pitching wedge that was over on the left side. And then it kind of ran aggressively down the slope. And I hit a pretty decent chip. But the point is, it was one of those where if you didn't land it in kind of a hula hoop, it was either going to come back to your feet or it could potentially kind of go over the green. And I think that for me at least, that's what really stood out. The course, I agree with y'all, like wide open, not that hard, lots of space. But I think what we always like to talk about is the greens are what I'm going to remember. I kept saying to y'all, I mean, like I sort of sound like a 10-year-old, but one of the things I love about a golf course, like I know that it's a golf course that is working for me from a mental standpoint, is when I walk off a golf hole and I'm looking back at it, right? Where it's like, like I wonder if they put the pin on that shelf. And I think at Corica or Corica, we don't actually know how it's pronounced. But it's like there are so many greens where it's like, fuck, back right, you're dead. On that shelf, crazy. And I think what's so exciting to me about that place is to JD's point about it not being like at 6,000 yards, I don't really care how far you hit it. You're not going to be like, I couldn't reach the green on a par five. Like it's going to be like pretty straightforward, but so much of it is being able to like execute and be like, cool. I mean, it's awesome if you hit like, someone like you, JD, who beats the shit out of the ball, you might hit like one of the holes, like driver pitching wedge, but on that Biarritz, if they put that in the wrong place and you actually hit a bad pitching wedge, you are probably excited to make five, which, I mean, it's a very different kind of par five, but I think that's, when our RGC guys were asking for an update, that's what I liked, right? I mean, number 8, which might be number 17, it's a 200 and I think you said, JD, to the flag, it was a 235 yard par 4, but like you straight up almost you made a great putt for birdie, right? Like you almost 3-jacked from you had a 2-iron hole high and almost made bogey, but like, that's not how I usually play golf, but I'm here for it, right? Like, I don't know that we need a Corica North or Corica at every single course, but the fact that we have that as an option is wonderful, right? Like to have that level of diversity. It's like tomorrow, let's play blue instead of black. Fuck, let's play white, right? I just think that there's so many options, right?
I was thinking about it, and South, not that that's what this is about, but what is it? 11 at South plays much longer than 17, what we think is 17 or 8 as we played it at North.
Is that the par 3?
Yeah, the par 3. That's
such a tough green.
240. I mean, I hit 3-iron on 8 the other day. I've hit 3-wood on 11 on South, right? And it's a tighter green. It's got bunkering. It's not an easy tee shot to hit, but that's what's kind of fun about North, right? It's par doesn't matter. Par's arbitrary anyway. And who really cares what the par is on that 8th hole? It's the same thing. If you hit it 4 feet left of the green and it catches that short ridge, kind of short left of the green, you're going to kick down into the water hazard.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, some of the bunkering, again, having played it twice, I've played a couple of different pins, but, I would say roughly half of the pins the second time were the same. Some of the bunkering didn't come into play for us. For the par 3, where the pin was front left, the bunker's kind of in the middle section of that green from 140 yards or whatever it was, really you'd have to hit a pretty bad shot from 140 to hit it in those bunkers, right? But if they put the pin back right, now you're hitting it right over the top of those bunkers, and anything that's not struck perfectly brings those into play. So that's where just the optionality, the difference in setup from day to day, and how hard you want to push it on 8 when the pin's left. Do you want to try to sling a draw in there and get it tight and hit it and make it 2, right? Or do you just play it out short, right? Kind of, Ashton, as you said, it doesn't even feel like I'm making a birdie, and then you proceeded to hit your wedge, 35 feet, a little chip shot 35 feet long, because it did creep into your head that it was a birdie. It's a good challenge, I think, as you maybe for people that are learning as you progress. Learning how to go lower, certainly going to be easier to shoot a number on north than it will be on south, and I think that's Ian, fun with a capital F. That's 100% how I would describe it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, I mean, first of all, I think one thing that I've been saying to myself a bunch is reminding myself is, I've got goals of competing and all this shit. That's awesome. The point of a handicap is to go with your buddies and play, right? So I think the biggest thing that we should all personally, I think in America, be playing much more match play than we do. But what really struck me about that course, and I was talking to my buddy Nick on Monday, is I was like, I can't think of a better match play course, right? Because I think like that is probably, to use your term, JD, you said it the day of, you just said it again, I think it's true. That course is ultimately like at 6,000 yards from the back, and it just par doesn't matter, right? But like the idea of standing up, like, again, let's just play it as it is for right now. If like Ian and I are playing in a match and it's number 8, okay, well, it's 265 yard par 4. Like, what are you going to do, big boy? It's your tee. Like, but not letting it decide, but like, hey, yo, guys, I'm posting a number. It's like, oh shit. Like Ian just decided, he's 1 up. He just hit up, like what you did, JD, like a 2-iron to 10 feet. To play that golf course with the idea of like playing your opponent and using the golf course for your opponent rest, and like I'm trying to defend against some sort of arbitrary number. It's like, yeah, I sort of kind of in my head, I was like, yo, we should do a little MuniciPals, like a little tournament, like just like 8, 10, 12, whoever wants to come, and just do like a match play, like, bracket style. Put the names in a hat, men, women, whatever, just get 12 people, 12, 16, whoever wants to come out, pick a name, play to a handicap, and just go fucking do it, like that to me. And I think that is fun, right? Like, so I do way too much of, I should shoot a number, I should shoot in the 70s. And like, I was out there just like, yo, that's not the point of what this course is. But it's also a huge kudos to the entire facility, because I think the North course is more fun. The South course is probably more challenging, but it's like, it's a great 36 hole day, right? Where it's like, cool, in the morning, I'm going to go get like punched in the face by a golf course that's kind of crispy and hope I play well. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to try to beat Ian's ass and drink a couple beers, right? That's kind of the vibe. But like the fact that could exist like in the same facility, you don't have to move a car. Hell yeah. Like, good Lord, there's not enough golf facilities that in the US, so just, it's a tip of the cap to them for what they're building, because the fact that you can have those two places side by side, no, it's not necessarily as good as a relative term, but it's not as hard. But like, is hard the point of golf? Like, I don't think so. Like, no, I don't. I think there's a time for forced carries, not many, but it's to have fun. And like, I just walked off that place, man, I was sweating fucking tequila the whole day, feeling like ass. And I walked off that place being like, that was really fun. I'm glad I woke up on 4 hours and 45 minutes of sleep after lighting myself on fire to do that. And there's many courses, like if I had to go play the Bridges, I would have been like, fuck me, what have I done? So I'm being too verbose, but capital F fun is a great way to put it, Ian.
Yeah, it's a solid course. And I think one thing we got to be thoughtful of is, it seems like they're just growing in the front 9 or whatever 9, the alternate 9 that we played, a combination of the front and possibly the tail end of the back. But it seems like they're still growing it in, so it's still a little bit soft out there. I really do think it's going to dry out once it's matured, and things are going to be rolling a little bit more, and it's going to make for some challenging shots into those greens. I mean, we talked about it, JD, when we were playing. We were considering hitting, half a club, maybe a club less, because we know once it hits those greens, it's going to roll out a little bit. And so that made for a really fun and challenging day.
I had the hardest time with that, and we had played the par 3 at Corica, however the hell you say it, the day before, which is really soft. It's not as sand capped as the south and north. And Ian, I think I said it to you on the second hole. Second hole is a par 5. I kind of hit it right off the tee and had to lay up, and I had a perfect, what would be no wind, kind of really comfortable lob wedge to right to the flag. It was a little downwind, so I settled on something just somewhat partial, call it 3/4, somewhere in that neighborhood, and I flew it flag high. And I think I had 30 feet coming back out of the fairway, struck lob wedge, 3/4 swing. A lot of times you're getting some rip back on that, depending on where you're playing, and it released. Yes, it was a little downwind, but it released a good 30 feet on me. And it's different. It's fun. You add in drier conditions and more grown in conditions, and the ability to play kind of abandoned style of golf, if you will, where you can potentially use some shelves, you could use some contouring and play different shots. Again, I think it's a great course to try things and challenge yourself and learn, no matter how seasoned or advanced you are.
Well, and to Ian's point, you could also not even have to squint your eyes and understand how that place is going to become even more fun. I think the this is not good audio. The par 4 before the second par 3, number 4, I think it was. We all sort of hit it on that back by the fringe, and it was fine. But also I was like, yo, when this place drives up properly, this is going to spit back off this hill. Cause we basically all had side hill putts, and it was so obvious to me that once that place in a condition like the south, it's that's going to roll all the way back. And all these contours are going to become a lot more interesting and honestly penal, but in a fun way. Cause man, making the greens the defense is just really fun, because it just requires you to think ahead, right? It's cool. They're not requiring you to say hit it into a hula hoop, but it's you can actually pull it and hit it off this hill and kind of get it back. But it's kind of cool to see where it's okay, that was clearly the fact that the course is literally 1 week old. Once the wind blows and this place really settles in and kind of the sand firms up, that's going to spit this back, and actually I might be below the hole. And so I think that it's also fun to, not only see how the course will evolve over time, but as we've said, it's man, that's a pinnable location. We could put the pin up there in kind of all of these different contours. So before we go into our actual scale, we've never done this before, but I think it's worth doing, because I've had a lot of people reach out asking about it. I think maybe we could just kind of, one of us can take the lead or whatever, just to kind of quickly walk through the holes as they are, that we remember them, just to give people a flavor for what they are, because I think they're pretty unique. To be clear, listeners, we don't have, I don't have a scorecard prepared. We're just going to kind of walk you through our quick how we remember it for kind of a vibe, and then we can kind of go through some of our specifics. But JD, you've already told us a little bit about one, but just kind of walk us back through number 1, or just take us as far as you want to go, and Ian and I can kind of jump in and add color as needed.
This is going to be dangerous. I have a memory for golf shots, for golf holes.
Oh, beautiful. No,
but one's 340, 350, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's, again, pretty friendly off the tee. You want to play it a little further right. It's a hazard out there, 250-ish from the tee on both sides, kind of sucks in the fairway a little bit. And then you definitely run out of room quickly on the left, off the tee, as well as a little bit around the green. It's a little bit tough to tell what's up to the right, towards the green from the tee box. But realistically, it's something, what would you say, 230 probably off the tee up the right center, some sort of wedge into the green. And you've got those 2 big bunkers front center, with the contour green complex that you talked about before, Ashton.
Yeah, just don't listen to the marshal. What did he say? He said don't hit it 180. I think
180 to the junk. Yeah,
180 was danger. Good news is I hit a 3-wood, and I was still about 15 yards away from it. So
it just wasn't factual.
That was
Ian, if you play a little more, I have confidence in your ability to push 3-wood out to 180.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, he said that, and we watched it there, and I was like, I again, he was so nice and he was so excited for us to be there, and it just was not based in any sort of fact. So if he says 180, just ignore him and listen to our man JD, who has a photographic memory here. So, okay, take us number 2 then. You're leading the charge. I'm going on Pilsners and liquor right now.
Yep.
Ian's working on a financial presentation, so you take us there.
2's I think scorecard yardage is 498, par 5. There's a big tree. So one of the main roads through around the complex is up the left-hand side. I believe that they left a tree on the left-hand side for a particular reason. The road doesn't creep in that tight, but it does give you a little bit of comfort knowing that if you do hit one a little left, the road's not as much in play. Prevailing wind is a little bit off of the left, and the right side does creep in a little bit depending on how far you hit it. So for a guy that likes to cut the ball like me, it's almost hard to start it far enough left with that tree. Good contouring in the fairway. There's a couple of drop-offs that will kick and funnel your ball down into low spots. The first time I played it, I hit one what I thought was right down the middle, and I was about 3 feet away from trouble on the right. Just got a really big kick off of a slope. The hole kind of takes you, if you follow the fairway, takes you up around the left side, kind of swings in from the left into a green that's set up more depth that way. The way most people will probably play it, at very least, most people like us will hit driver and definitely have a shot to go for the green in 2. There's another 2 kind of hidden bunkers, short, what would be short middle, but feels a little bit like short right of the green. If you play the hole up kind of around the left, that will certainly gobble up some golf balls that try to get there in 2. Probably one of the more benign green complexes, but it's a good par 5 green in the sense that it'll be receptive to some longer clubs. Ian, I think your second shot funneled off to the left there, and you hit the putt from just off the side of the green. That fooled you a little bit.
Right.
So some great opportunities to hit different shots around the green, and overall a good scoreable par 5.
Yeah, just don't be like me, and it's like it's dead left and just hit the worst hybrid ever that bleeds out. But hey, I found it. Just know that if you're kind of in the thick grass, Ian, watch me. I swung about 10 times and the ball would just go right underneath and settle down. So
Practice
do not
swings.
go left.
Practice swings.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, I'm not. Despite the fact that I wore a Patrick Reed shirt when Nick was in town, I am not a Patrick Reed fan or even a fan of Patrick Reed golf. So that's a whole separate story. But okay, keep going, JD. You're doing excellent work. Not that you're asking for feedback, but you're doing great.
3 is, I think, 350, 360 on the scorecard. I don't think the tees we played it from are that long.
Is that the tree on the left? Is that the one where I hit the awful one left in the middle of the fairway? Yeah. Yeah,
and Ian hit the little, trap draw 3-wood right on the right side of the tree. That was just perfect. I don't think where we played it from was that long. There's another tee box that's back closer to the road that probably stretches it another maybe 30. I don't know if you guys have a better beat on that from where we played it from. So it's probably closer to 330. Ian, you were the only one that really got it going towards the green. Is that somewhat accurate based on the yardage you had in and the club you hit off the tee?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. It's about an additional 30 yards to where that back tee will be. I don't remember much of this hole, unfortunately, other than the shot off the tee.
Well, you didn't have much left, so that's understandable.
Yeah. Well, I actually think this is the hole I was talking about where we were all sort of on the back and like it would have sucked back. Because I think Ian, all 3 of us, I think, had putts that were like sort of up on the hill, if I remember correctly.
I think the idea, when you push it back that extra 30, Ian, your 3-wood ends up in a spot that might be somewhat blocked out by that tree if it gets trapped somewhat in that rough. So it's almost a true dogleg version of the first hole, right? You have to play it out a little further right than you think. It's a little more club probably than one, but you have to play it out a little further right than you think. It's almost tough to do that visually. Or you can get ultra aggressive and try to peel one around the corner in some capacity. I just don't know how much you gain from doing that. It is a good green complex in the fairway back where I was, because I didn't have the balls to push it up where Ian did. I definitely had an uphill lie with a short wedge in my hand, which created some issues. But yeah, another good hole played out right. It's probably a little better from 30 yards back relative to where we played it.
Yeah, and the other thing to note that we should highlight is, and this I really learned this from you, JD, watching you hit like iron off the tee. Is I think one of the other beautiful things is like even if you just want to, like JD's pretty long, but even if you want to, I think one of the beauties of that course is like, as you said, you could make a loop and be like, fuck it, I'm just going to hit driver on every single hole, and then you play it the next time and go, I'm going to hit 4-iron off every single tee. And same idea of options, right? Like you're going to have different wedges in or different things, but I think unless you're hitting like a 7-iron off the tee, like you're still going to have like a reasonable shot in, but options, right? Like on that hole, I hit driver, Ian hit 3-wood, you hit what, 2-iron, JD, 3-iron, 4-iron?
I had 4.
Yeah, but like that's even a good example, right? Like there's not many holes where I play in the group and there's three different people hitting 3 different things off the tee. So it's just meant to like highlight the diversity of this place. So
and we all made par.
We did.
And we all made par, right? So that's golf in a nutshell, right?
100%. So number 4, take us there, G. That's the 140-yard par 3 you mentioned?
Yeah, it was 140. We played a front pin. That's the only pin I've played so far. Short left falls off pretty substantially. Ashton, I think you had that shot down there. A little long left from that pin also falls off. That's where I was the first time. Not an easy shot. Really good at very least 2-tiered green. So it was on the lower tier being up front. Mm-hmm. There was kind of a backstop, if you will, that leads up towards the middle section of the green. And then it wraps around those bunkers we talked about that are kind of more middle of the green. So they were actually long and right of the pin position that we played, but certainly could be short of a back pin position, which prevailing wind is downwind there. So I think you get firm conditions playing it at, what would you guys think? 165, 170, 175 all the way back. It could be pretty dicey.
Well, and to your point, JD, that easily, like, again, once those greens get a little crispy, you fly it hole high and it just goes right in the bunker and you're fucked. Like, you're going to make bogey. Best. You're going to make bogey. But again, that's awesome, right? Like different dependable hole, then a different, like totally different challenge from a front pin to a back pin on that hole.
Well, and imagine playing a 165 yard par 3 being like, where do I lay up?
Yeah.
It's not that severe, but do you hit something short left of the hole that maybe gets up the ridge and leave yourself with a tough 2-putt, but take back out of play? It's the interesting part of, as we play it more, different wind conditions, different ground conditions, it's pick your challenge.
Yeah. And also, again, as those greens become more firm, and like we also may learn there are certain places like, hey, 5 steps to the right of the green, it actually funnels right to the hole. Who knows? Again, like it's in its infancy, but I think to your point, like it's just fun to know that like a hole that, I had a pitching wedge on is going to offer us so many different options as we kind of like both with conditions, but even more importantly, just again, like pinnable locations. If you have to say anything about this course, just so many options there. Cool. Number 5, mega short par 4 with some bunkers in the middle, correct?
Yeah, it's about 490 scorecard yardage, but something about that hole says it's not 490. I don't know if there's another tee box that they've yet to complete, or if there's just kind of a speed slot in the fairway, but it certainly doesn't seem to play out to 490. I don't know what your guys' opinions are on that. But it's wide open. You just have to miss the bunkers in the middle of the fairway. You can hit it anywhere probably within a 350 yard left to right range and still be playable. It's going to be gettable for most players in 2 shots, and this is the one with that green. The 3-tiered kind of has the channel in the middle, if you will, and I don't know what you referred to it as. Yeah.
Come on, Jimmy, you know what beer is.
I've only played it with a left pin. The green falls off hard left, which if you play it with a left pin, don't miss it left if you want to make birdie. it creates a very tough up and down.
Yeah, Ian had some chunky monkey land over there on that approach on those chip shots.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yeah, don't miss your second shot left, and definitely not short left, because it will feed back down into the fairway and you will 3-jack it onto the green. So, yeah, it's it can be tricky out there, but that's what I thought was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a
Ian, the first
neat hole.
Nope, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The first time we played it, I hit it in that same spot, and I hit 3-wood. I putted it up the slope because I didn't have the stones to try to hit wedge.
Well,
and in fairness to y'all, it was also like wet and not grown in. Like that's a pretty bad combo.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was wet because that made it a little bit more challenging. But yeah, don't put yourself short left. That's the absolute must on that hole. You can put it anywhere else, but not short left.
No, I think all of us have played, some East Coast, or I know for you, I mean, you play East Coast golf, JD, but, or just more cold weather climates. Like, I know that, like, when I think about when I used to play, like, January golf in Atlanta, right? Everything's dead. It's a little wet. And, like, I always thought about, my dad always told me as a kid that was a great time to go practice my short game, because he was like, dude, you just need to go out there and commit to those chip shots, because if you sort of like wiggle at all, it's gonna be this wet chunks all day. Cause he's like, that dead grass, it's a little bit damp. You just got to go clip it. That was always time to go practice short game. And so when I saw that, Ian, I was like, that's like a January 11th in Atlanta lie down there. And you got to just, be a big boy and hit it. But, we don't get many of those in the Bay Area.
Well, I do remember those days. And I think my chipping was as good then as it is now. So
there you go. And also worth mentioning the water left, right? Like there are some places here you can't hit it. I know that JD's wonderful wife, Katie, she didn't hit a bad shot, but her ball, I guess, went in the water. We couldn't really tell. I thought it was trickling, and somehow it ended, people are trickling near the cart path, which isn't even paved yet. So I thought she should have been right in the middle of the dirt that will be the cart path, and we just never found it.
That is one of the things there where it's fairway all the way to the path, right? The path as we know it right now. There's no rough on that side of the hole, which, again, firmer, faster conditions. You catch one going a little low and left, and you're going to run out of room.
Yeah. Yeah, and also worth noting for people who play this in the next, I don't know how long, couple months, but the bunkers on this hole are actually ground into repair. So your boy hit it right underneath a shipping pallet in the middle of a bunker and got to drop it. So again, I know it's like I'm playing Patrick Reed golf. That is the rule. I'm not over here fudging with the lie, but if you play here recently, just hit it at the bunker and who gives a shit. But at some point, it'll matter. Number 6, par 3. One of the worst shots of my life, so I'm not going to tell you about that one.
Yeah, this is one of the holes that was different from a pin position standpoint. It was in the 130s when we played it the first time to a front pin, and it was right around 150 or so to a back right pin. Doesn't seem like a big difference, probably a club and a half, but the front pin, you just have to get it across the front edge of the green, and you're going to have some sort of look, provided you don't just blow it way long. A back pin, you have a much smaller window to play with. And Katie and I certainly found that out. If you land it flag high and you go long, you're going to have a tough up and in.
You guys both were just not that was, I walked out there. I was like, you guys are kind of fucked back there.
I hit a great pitch. I mean, I didn't make the putt, but I didn't hit a bad shot. I just hit it a little left of target. And I wasn't far from going into an area where I was not going to be in a playable lie. So this is one of those, take 10 off of the yardage, and if it's a back pin and you're just trying to fly it to the top of that ridge and hope that the contouring of the green takes the ball to the hole. Again, perfect example of setup can dictate how challenging a hole is, because at front pin it's a birdie hole. It's a wedge in your hand or a short iron and looking to make birdie. Back pin, little less room for error.
Yeah, no, again, like a super cool green. Like I hit a terrible first shot, but I mean, I had a chip that was like, very much one of those where it's like, you better land this on the top tier and get it rolling nicely, or else you're going to have, if you leave it up on the tier, you're fucked. You're going to three putt. If you hit it too far, it could potentially go over the green. So again, same idea of like, it's not only just with your approach shot, but if you're going to do what I did and just bail super hard left, they're going to ask you to hit like a proper chip shot, even in that bowl, right? I mean, you think like, oh, okay, cool, it's going to land in the bowl and go straight to the hole. Not necessarily. Like, you definitely got to land in the right spot. And again, from where you guys were, and honestly, if I remember correctly, Katie's ball, I mean, if it had gone, I mean, I know she caught it a little thin. But her ball was like almost in the water, right? Is there water back there?
Yeah, it's like a marshy area. I don't know if it was actually marked a hazard yet, but that's where it. I mean, if I was another 3 steps, if Katie was one more step, we were gonna be taking a ball out of pocket and just hitting some chip shots. It wasn't far, and for a a relatively short 100, probably 145 on the card, something like that. Just a good example of different than what you see on a scorecard.
Yeah. Cool. So 7, I liked 7. I thought 7 was cool. Ian hit a fucking dope approach shot.
God, I thought that was going in for sure. The longest par 4 on the side, I think. I think it's it tops out a little over 400. It does play downwind, so plays a little shorter than that, but good hole. It's almost a split fairway when you get up there. You can't really see it from the tee box, but there's a little knoll that has some fescue on it that you can play over it and or right of it if you wanted to. So it's pretty friendly. You get up towards the green and that right side of the green falls off hard. If you hit it down there, best of luck. It's one of those you could hit 3-wood, 8-iron, lob wedge, and try to really clip one. So it's a second shot golf hole. Get it in play off the tee and take a page out of Ian's notebook and just throw one in there to a few feet.
Yeah, and again, another green too, or if you hit it on the wrong tier, like in the wrong spot, you're just going to have a really tough. I mean, that's, again, I know we keep saying that, but that's the fun of it. Is like, technically that's, again, sort of in a bowl, but like if you hit that on the wrong spot on that green, you're just not going to be able to score very well, or hoping to 2-putt.
Ian, what was your view like on your second shot? I was a little behind you and I was up on top of the hill. What was your view like from that crevasse?
I could not see where the ball landed. Like, you guys were
I didn't realize
that I hit such a great shot, but I couldn't see it. I had no idea. I knew it hit a little bit short, but it was hard telling how much it could roll out. So, I mean, I was really relying on you guys to, I guess, cheer me on, because I finally hit a good shot. I did miss the putt, in case anybody's wondering, I think, per usual. So no birdies on the card that day. But yeah, I mean, that goes back to, the 4 or 5 feet of sand that they probably added to the course. There's a lot of variability in topography. And as a result, you put yourself in some positions. You try to hit the ball long, you're gonna have a more difficult view of the green than somebody who played it a little bit safer and has a better look at the pin.
So with that, would you, playing it again, same conditions, right? Same pin. I mean, we're taking out some variables here. Would you hit driver?
No.
Like you did, or would you lay back further?
No, I mean, I was hitting the driver pretty straight, but if I could do it over again, I would play back into the right a little bit more on that kind of flat plateau, and play from there, because you're not gaining that much, right? 30 yards maybe. And
what'd you have in, like 100-ish?
Right at 100, yeah. And so, I mean, what's the big difference between being 100 or 130 out, right? I mean, maybe
30 yards,
maybe a club and a half. 30 yards. But I mean, having that good of a look at the green compared to where I was, I would not hit driver and risk it. Especially if you're not hitting it straight that day. I mean, it should be an easy decision to hit maybe a hybrid long iron.
Well, and also, I mean, it's worth noting that it does pinch up there. Like I hit mine solid, but sort of hit like a cut that sort of cut and then cut a little bit more, and I was in sort of the shit on the left. But like I got up there and I was like, oh, it like at where I hit my drive, it starts to pinch. So to your point, the play is probably like 3-wood. Like for me, my hybrid, like I would say hit it, 250, 260, and that's kind of all you need. Because yes, if you hit an excellent drive, 280, 290 plus, you can get up there in the neck. But to Ian's point, I mean, if you told me, again, I know this is not sort of the Scott Fawcett decade, hit it as far as you can mentality, but if you told me I could have 100, like hit 3-wood wedge, I'd rather do that than hit driver and then have a clipped 60 to like an undulating green. Like, I'd probably rather just give me the full wedge and the safer club off the tee, right?
This is that, to tie everything that we've kind of gone over so far, fun with a capital F, great match play golf course. As far as we know, we think that actually is 16 on what the final layout will be.
Oh, yeah.
So imagine being in a match play format, being maybe one up and having honors and stepping up on that hole and saying, I'm going to push one down there, right? You hit driver. What does your opponent have to do?
I don't think they would. If I was that person, I would not be like, I need to hit driver now.
Maybe, right?
I would hope my buddy would have had one too many sips of White Claw and would hit a little Boney Maroney, like 60 that goes over the green. But
it's one of those challenge. You can challenge yourself if you want. You can certainly lay back and play to a wider area, still have a short to mid iron in, depending on, again, we played a front hole location. So add 30 or so to what we had. And that might be a true test towards the back of the green. But if you want to test hitting the driver and getting it up there in a smaller area, you can certainly do that.
Yeah. So perfect segue. Talk about options. Tell us about number 8/feature number 17.
Yeah. So 2 different conditions when I've played it. First time was straight into the wind, created some interesting club selection. I think it was 245 when I played it the first time. It was low 230s when we played it, still back into it, but not quite as, not quite as heavy. This is one of those, part of me says it'd be great to have another tee box option that's, I don't know, maybe another 30 back where most people are going to hit driver. But part of me also says it takes the decision out of your hands, right? If you have another tee box that's 30 yards back, you can make a case for potentially laying up. It's really hard. It's not a forced carry. There's no trouble that you have to get the ball over. You just can't hit it left. Yeah, you just can't hit it left. That's it. Everyone is going for that green. Every single person that can make a decent swing at a speed swing with some speed, right? Katie didn't even have a huge advantage, maybe 20, 30 yards on that hole from the back tees to what are the forward tees. She has not gotten one to the green. She hasn't quite gotten one online yet, but certainly has the firepower to get it there.
You had a goddamn 2-iron hole high.
Yeah, everyone's going to go for it. So that's part of me says it'd be great to have a tee box that's, most people are at least going to have to hit a wood. But it also does take that layup option out, and that's kind of fun.
I think you said it best. And I can't say I've played many holes like this. It's a par 3.5. You nailed it. That is the way to describe it. Like a 3 feels really good. A 4 is kind of like, probably left something out there. And then to your point, like what I did is I got all happy hands and hit it past the hole and made bogey, despite the fact that I hit it on the front of the green. But it's a par 3.5. You feel really good about a 3. You feel not so great about a 4. And it's probably, from a scoring average perspective, for the average golfer, somewhere right in the middle.
This is the fun part about golf to me, and this is why par is arbitrary. If you stepped up on a hole that was 245, 250 yards back into the wind with water left and the scorecard said 3, you would say this is an impossibly difficult hole. Why is this a par 3? You step up on it as a par 4 and you're going, I should make 3 every single time here.
That's a good point. It's true.
Right. And one of the fun parts is if they put that pin back left and you do kind of bail out on one a little short right, that might be the biggest green on the golf course.
you've got like a 40-yard pitch.
It's huge. The first time we played it, I think Katie had a putt that was 80 feet, 85 feet for her third. So that's, again, pin position can change it. As you get further back into the green, it definitely pushes it back more towards the water, brings that short right little bump into play. It's a good hole. It's a good hole.
Yeah. And again, super fun for match play, right? Like, what are you going to hit? How aggressive are you going to be? Options. And so, JD, take us to number 9, last hole.
Yeah. Not to be negative, not to end on a negative note, it might be my least favorite.
I 100% agree.
Tee to green. I think the green complex is really good, and it matches what the hole design's supposed to be. They pushed it back as far as they could, but it's kind of a tweener.
It feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah, you don't really want to hit driver or anything that's too. The left side of the fairway runs out pretty hard. Right side's protected, and it runs into water. The water that flanks the left side of 17 or 8, however you want to look at it. There is a hazard right that has a tree, and unless you're taking it over the tree like Ian did, it's tough. It's tough to play left of it and hit anything that's longer than maybe 230 yards, 220, something like that. Just kind of to the corner and knock it up there. I think not knowing what it wants to be is a good description.
Yeah, but to your point, great green complex.
It is.
Great green complex. Because you went you could say there's options where it's like you tried to hit like a helicopter cut, which kind of worked. I mean, you hit like the best chip I've ever seen to like 2 inches, but that doesn't mean it's like a good hole or it was the right shot. I don't know. I think I hit my 230-yard hybrid and like 8-iron. So it's okay. It's just, I think after you get like 8 holes of like holes that feels like they know exactly what they are, even if they're just a gentle handshake, it's sort of like, I don't know what they want me to do here. I don't know. And again, it may be better because, well, I guess that'll be 18, which might make it worse. To kind of finish on a hole like that could be actually a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's kind of anticlimactic after the last few holes where you have a lot of options. If you're playing match play, there's probably a good game going if you're still in it at that point. And then to finish on that hole, I'm not crazy about it. Just the options off the tee are kind of uninteresting.
I think that's a beautiful, beautiful way to put it. You look at it and you go, well, this is, I mean, Ashton, like you said, trying to hit a helicopter cut, trying to push it up as close to the green as possible. And part of it is it doesn't seem like there's a good spot to aim it. It doesn't seem like there's much framing because, typically if you have a dog leg right, the higher part of the fairway, whether that's a bunker, a tree, a hill, something is going to be on the far side of that dog leg, right? It's what's going to frame that hole. And the far side of the dog leg falls off, and it falls off towards the water. So there's almost nothing to look at left. There's nothing to draw your eye left. So I think all of us, to a man, looked at that tree on the short side of the dog leg on the right side of the hole, which realistically wasn't in play for anyone unless we hit a really, really bad kind of low rocketing driver or hybrid or whatever we decided to hit. Totally. So it's just kind of a pick where you want to hit it. I've played it twice. The dispersion between my 2 drives was a full pitching wedge probably. I was in play both times, and it's just sort of you've played 17, or in our case, 8 good holes. See you later.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Again, we'll have to do it when everything opens up, and we can really dive in. But yeah, overall great. But you might kind of walk off feeling cool. 8 great holes, and then number 9's a great green. But overall fun. So quickly to run through, I'll kind of like lead the way here. So our kind of usual criteria is talk about rate. JD, you're an Alameda resident. I think it was 39 for y'all to play. Me and Ian, I believe it was 49. It's maybe a weird question, but like, does that feel fair to y'all?
Ian?
Yeah, I think so. For 9 holes, knowing what it is today and what it's going to be, it's reasonable. I mean, the Bay Area in general is pretty pricey, and so for you to be able to get in there and play a fun, interesting course, yeah, makes sense.
They've definitely capitalized on some of the growth in the area, I would say. It's supply and demand, right? I mean, it's impossible to find a tee time on the South Course, at least prior to North opening up.
They need to fix it. I think I've heard rumors. This might just be our friends' conspiracy theories that people are using like bots or software. Because like literally when Nick was in town, I was trying to get us on the South Course. I stayed up till midnight. And in 7 seconds, the first available tee time was 3 p.m. Like, there's no way that human beings are actually sitting there booking every single tee time till 3 p.m. 7 seconds past the hour.
It's twofold. One, yes, there's some sort of backdoor bots, or I'm not smart enough, tech savvy enough to be able to figure anything like that out. But I have spoken with someone who has been able to do it. So yes, that is part of it. The other part is, my understanding is when they decided to undertake the renovations on both the North and South, one of the ways that they raised capital was doing like a pseudo membership. I think it's called the Founders Club, where you could lay down a certain amount of cash, and I don't know what the economics on it are, but I think you have the ability to make times further in advance than 1 week.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of both. I think you have guys that can make them 2 weeks in advance or a month in advance or whatever it is. And so sometimes get eaten up that way. They also have had a 1 hour cancellation policy. So I think you get a lot of people just laying a credit card down saying, hey, if I happen to be able to get the hall pass or sneak out of work or whatever it may be, I'll go play. And if not, I have up until an hour before my tee time to cancel.
It's a tough scene. I mean, that like, it's good, but like, I mean, man, it's not that good. It's not good. It's not that good that it's like gone that fast.
Right. Yeah. I think value is, I would agree with Ian. For the area, it's on par, right? You've got Metro.
The conditions are really good.
Yeah. You've got Metropolitan Golf Links that's right down the road. That's not as good of a layout. There's some great holes out there, and the back nine really is a pretty good 9 holes of golf.
Yeah, back nine at Metro is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and the front nine, like number 4, is one of the best holes I think in the area. It's around the same price. I think it's probably $35 or so to play 9 holes peak season. So right around the same at $39 for the North. I would play the North every single time. It's different. It's fun. It's in good shape, and I think it's on par. I think maybe a little bit pricier than what I would want to pay day in, day out, but it's on par with the courses in the area.
Yeah. Conditions, I think we can all say good. Greens were great. One thing worth mentioning, JD, you brought this up, but this isn't exactly conditions, but you kind of shared on first hole that you thought they had kind of fucked up the bunkers a little bit. Worth noting to people, right? You said that they're not exactly concave, which means that if people get up against that sod lip, they're sort of fucked, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've only seen a few balls end up in the bunkers. So to Ian's point, I don't know how much play they're going to get day in and day out, but out of the handful of golf balls I've seen, every single one has ended up right against the lip, which it's tough.
Can't be the case.
It's tough from a daily fee standpoint to ask them to kind of tamp down the edges so that ball's somewhat funneled towards the center. So at very least you can stand and or swing. I just think of your average Alameda golfer going out there and how many wrists are going to be broken or kind of bad accidents happen because of it. But it'd be nice to see them be a little bit more concave. You get a variety of lies, and it tends to shoot the ball away from right up against the lip, unless you hit a wedge that comes in high. But they seem to the lips seem to attract golf balls.
Yeah. Layout, I feel like we've covered that extensively. Wide, not a lot of place you can't hit it. Mounding, undulations, amenities. Corica is great, I think. They have a really wonderful area. I mean, the great pro shop, great kind of bar and grill, very affordable drinks and food, kind of a great patio you can sit on, great putting green. I think from an amenity standpoint for a public golf course, Corica checks about every box that I've seen. Because again, I was talking to Nick about this last night. If it's like, let's just pretend the three of us plus Katie, we book a 36 hole day, right? And we last minute don't have plans. Like you can get a breakfast burrito, you can play, you can grab a couple beers, you can get a sandwich. Like the point is, you don't like if you have not brought anything to the course, you did not prepare ahead. You can both do that and simultaneously not get gouged, which I think that's all we can ever ask for, right? And then pace. I think, it's hard. We're all like, we want to play under 2 hours or play rounds under 4. A little bit slow. I think it was like, 2:15. There was kind of a kid in front of us, which again, I ride a fine line because I want kids on the course. I just want them to play faster. But what do you guys have any like hot takes or opinions on pace?
It's Muni. You're not going to have the private club pace at the value you're getting at a Muni. You just, I guess, I've come to just expect that the rounds are going to be a little bit long, and I've learned to be patient. You're right. I like to play at a quick pace, but don't expect that at Corica, or any of the other municipal courses in the area.
No.
I'll take it a couple steps further. One, you can't ask a daily fee facility to give up a tee time. Most private courses, if they're backed up, they're going to build in a time or two to catch up. They're just going to strike out a couple of tee times, not allow anybody to take them, and that's how they keep pace of play going.
I don't think I knew that. That's interesting to know. Yeah,
they're called starter times. So you typically just throw your favorite foursome, right? Throw Nicholas and Tiger and Arnie and Phil all in a foursome and throw it on the tee sheet so nobody can book it. So that's kind of how a lot of private courses will stay on track.
Never knew that. That's interesting.
Having worked in the industry, and this will be interesting to see when it's the full 18, that 17th hole is going to slow down the pace of play throughout the day.
It's a good call.
And what I mean by that is, so we had one of the courses I worked at, we started every 7 and 8 minutes. So it was on the hour, 7 or 8 after, 15 after, 22 after, 30 after. That's how the tee sheet went. And we ended on a par 5 is the course. The 18th hole is a par 5.
People so waiting on 18.
If you start every 7 to 8 minutes, you almost can't finish every 7 to 8 minutes, right? So if you have a full tee sheet and the first group plays in 3 hours, let's just go say they light the world on fire and play in 3 hours. That's great. The group number 2 is going to play in 3:05, then 3:10. And that's just with good spacing, right? Right on the heels of the group in front of you, you're just going to finish every 10, 12 minutes versus every 7, 8 minutes. So the pace of play is gradually going to get worse as the day goes on. And I could see that with 17, where even if you're right on the group in front of you, you have to wait for them to get off the green, which means you now have a hole in front of you. So if you're starting every 10 minutes, let's say on their sheet, you might be finishing every 15 minutes, which means as the day goes on, your pace of play is going to be 5 minutes slower for every group as you go because of the way that 17th hole is designed. So it's okay now. I thought the pace was fine when we were out there. It'll be really interesting to revisit that conversation in a year or whatever it is once the full 18 is complete.
Man, JD just coming in with some big brain shit. This is like I'm having my first of all. It's amazing that at your course you had Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus and Arnie. It's crazy.
It was a nice membership.
Yeah. Damn, see, this sucks though, because like normally we just like to sit here and yell. Good Lord, we won't even go into this. Got people all in my ass about my fucking, sharp par takes. Like, little do I know I'm lighting courses on fire for pace of play when it's not even the course's fault. So maybe I just suck and should stop doing this podcast. I don't know.
It depends, right? And I could just, like I said, I could see it being an issue at some point. It's okay as a 9-hole track right now, but it'll be fun to revisit that once it's a full 18.
They should just put a sign that's like, you're not allowed to go for the green. Immediate disqualification if you go for the green.
Hey, it's just keep the employment rate going and pay somebody to sit out there and ask groups to wave people up.
There you go. We need more. I think Neil said this on Knowing Up recently. We need more bells on golf courses.
I like that.
Just to let people know where to, what to do. Like, hey, it's clear. Ring the bell.
Love a good golf bell.
Yeah, I have not enough golf bells. Well, gentlemen, I said this would be quick. This is an hour, but I've learned, JD, we're new friends, but when we talk for a while. Ian,
sorry guys.
Thank you for joining, especially as the Braves are up 5-1 in the 8th inning here. So vibes are high. But gentlemen, hope to play with you both soon. Thank you, and hopefully this is helpful for the people hoping to get out. And also, too, just one anecdotal note. At least who knows as this continues, but in the same way that Corica South has been a Corica, whatever the fuck it is, it's hard to get a tee time. Corica North seems pretty easy to get one, so go play. It's not that hard. I actually, both times I've booked tee times for a double loop. I've not done that either time, but 9 holes, whatever, should be pretty easy to get on and go enjoy it. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I look forward to the next round.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.